Hi folks, and welcome to Power Negotiating. I remember once I was doing this presentation for my real estate investment group, and I had one of my students that told me one of her fears, and she said, I'm worried that the seller is going to be a jerk. And I thought about that for a second. I said, be glad if they're a jerk. She says, what do you mean? I said, let's take a look at it this way. When you have a seller that's a jerk, why are they doing that? Number one, they're afraid, which means that they are using being a jerk as a self-defense mechanism. And they're just being nasty to everybody because they're worried that someone's going to take advantage of them. And you can use that fear by establishing that you're not going to be in an adversarial position, you're going to be in an advocate position, and explain to them exactly what the process is going to be. When you do that, you're going to change that fear to trust in you. And so you're going to transform that person from a jerk to a friend. Number two, if they're a jerk, they could be doing that because they've been a jerk to everybody. Well, guess what? Nobody else wants to deal with them either. So if you can deal with them, you're going to have less competition, and you'll be able to make an offer that you're not going to have anybody else trying to lowball you on. Number three, if they're a jerk, they're doing that because they've been mistreated before. And when they've been mistreated before, the way to overcome that is to have open disclosure about everything that you're going to do. You say, Reed, what do you mean by open disclosure? First of all, they're not going to trust you. So you tell them right up front, I am going to structure this so that you don't have to trust me. What I want to do is I want to lease your property with the option to purchase, and here's what I'm going to do. Number one, I'm going to put a tenant buyer in there. They're not a renter, they're a tenant buyer. Number two, they're going to give me a large non-refundable option fee, which means that they're going to take care of the property. If I put somebody in there with no non-refundable option fee, what would happen is probably they're just going to treat it like a rental and they're going to tear the place up. The larger the non-refundable option fee, the better it is for you. Number three, your name is going to stay on the title until I buy it. But in the meantime, the property is going to appreciate in value. Your taxes are going to be paid, your mortgage is going to be paid, all of your maintenance is going to be done, and the property is just going to get better and better and better. The people that are in there are going to treat it like their own house because in their mind it already is. And so this is the best possible solution for you. But let's say that 2 years from now I get hit by a bus and I'm killed. What happens? You can go ahead and just take this property over again. Or my heirs could go ahead and purchase it for you. So in no way are you hurt. When you tell them exactly what your plans are and give them the reasons behind it and explain to them that you're structuring this so that there's no way that they can lose, that the worst case scenario, they're better off if you die. Let's rephrase that. Worst case scenario, that they're going to be benefited more than they are right now. When you structure it that way, you're all of a sudden going to hear that person start to just say, wow, this person can help me. Now you're going to say, Reed, if they're a jerk, what happens if they decide to find a tenant buyer themselves? Great, more power to you, more power to them. But if they could do that, why haven't they? If they have the idea, if they know how to do it, all they had to do is do it themselves. The reason they don't do that is because they don't know how. They don't know how to find a tenant buyer. They don't know how to advertise. They don't know how to structure the deal. They don't know how to do the things that you know how to do. Because if they did, they already would have done it. Maybe all they need is an idea to go forward and do this. That's possible. In which case, the instant you say that you're going to buy the property with the lease option, they're going to say, oh, I could do that myself, and they'll slam down the phone with you. So you have nothing to lose here other than a little bit of time. What you have to gain, though, is if you can show people that you have the expertise, that you have the knowledge, that you have the ability to transform their problem into a solution, they're going to trust you. Next question about dealing with a jerk is, what happens if you can't trust them? Great, I don't have to trust them. I'm in control. What do you mean by you're in control? I'm going to structure the deal so that their name is on the contract. I'm going to record the option in the public records. Now, what does that option in the public records mean? That means that they can't do a darn thing to that property without taking care of me. So if they say, I'm going to go ahead and sell this property to somebody else, as soon as a title insurance company does the title work, they're going to say, wait a second, there's a lease option on this property that's recorded. What will happen is they can't sell the property. They don't legally have the right to do it because they've given you the option to purchase it at a specified price. Could they buy you out? Yeah, they could, in which case, I'm a happy camper. So you always want to make sure that you record your option in the public records. Now, speaking of that, I once had this, went on this appointment and met with this person that wanted to sell the house. And the first question I asked is, are you the owner? And she said, my ex-husband is the owner and I have power of attorney to sell this property. Okay, well, let's talk to your ex-husband. Oh, he's not available. I said, okay, well, let me get back to you on this. And I went ahead and talked to my boss, talked to my business partner, and my business partner said, what's the person's name? I went ahead and told him. He said, whoa, run away from that person. She doesn't hold title to the property. She probably wants $5,000 and she'll go ahead and give you titles to the property. Well, yeah, I think that's what she said. We're not going to do that, number one, because we don't give people money for their houses. And number two, she doesn't hold title. So be careful of someone like that. You always want to make sure that you structure the deal so that you get them to agree, you get this under contract, then you do your due diligence. Remember we were talking about title insurance companies before? You want to make sure you do a title search before you get the property. Now you're going to say, Reed, why did you do that? This one time, I was in Colorado Springs. And just below Colorado Springs, there's a little community called Pueblo. And we didn't buy properties in Pueblo all that much because we didn't find that there's a whole lot of, it wasn't appreciating very rapidly, and the properties didn't usually have a lot of equity there. Not that we need a lot of equity, but we just really didn't like Pueblo for some strange reason. And this person says, I'm willing to walk away from the property. I said, great. What's the property worth? It was a triplex. It was worth $300,000. Okay, what do you owe on it? $350,000. Okay, how did you get a loan for $350,000? What they'd done is they'd gotten a refinance, and then they wanted to go ahead and sell the property and walk away from it, where they'd already pulled out all of their profit. Those are ones you want to watch out for. So one of the questions you want to ask is, what do you owe on the property? And then you want to find out what the property is worth. If you are upside down, run. Run fast, run far. Can we buy a property? Can we get a property on the lease option that has very little equity? Yeah, we can, but why? There's enough properties out there that you can find some great deals. You don't have to go after properties that have problems. But you're looking for jerks that will lie to you, and as long as you control the circumstances, as long as you have the right paperwork, what you can do is you can structure this so that you're not hurt. Let's talk about that for just a second in our next session.